does anybody have a win they'd like to share? Now, I want to be clear for those of you that are newer. When I ask for people to share their wins, I'm not asking for big things, right? And we can share those as well. For instance, Sebastian just had a closing we were talking about as some of you are coming in. But we're also asking for, hey, I picked up the phone and made a call for the first time and I've been scared to, right? So it doesn't matter what it is, how big or how small, we just want to know about it. And because it encourages others. Okay. So anybody have one they want to share?
I could share one. It is probably pretty small. It's something you've already done, but I finally got my license application turned in. I was waiting for it to be signed and everything after I passed my test 2 weeks ago. So now it's shipped off and I'm excited to get that back.
Yay. So you'll have that in no time. Fantastic. Awesome. All right. Hi, Michelle, Autumn, Maria. I can't see some of you. Anyone else have a win they want to share?
I have one.
Okay.
I've gotten used to reaching out to my SOI more frequently and just thinking about who's in my SOI and trying to get a hold of them. But at first, it wasn't something that I wanted to do that much. But now I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable doing it. I've been doing it for a while now.
Very good. So if I may ask you, and this is going to tie in a little bit to the topic that we'll talk about today. And as always, be thinking about if you came here to mastermind about something specific, we want to know that too, right? So Sebastian, what was it that was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you described it like scary or you didn't say that word, but where you kind of had a hard time in the beginning. Why was that?
I was just thinking because my age group and then not many people my age are ready to buy a house. But I was thinking maybe their parents want to buy a house, their uncles, their cousins, their older cousins, and I know in the future they will be ready. So just keeping in contact with them was what really drove me to do that, and keeping those strong relationships with each and every one of them.
Awesome. I love that. And I love you finding a way around what was holding you back. That's the key. That, and we're going to talk about that today, becoming purposeful, going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Because remember, over these next few weeks, we're talking about the 6 personal perspectives. And so we're going to talk about that. Okay. Thank you, Autumn. I appreciate that. Thank you, Maria. I know you have circumstances sometimes where the camera can't be on. But if at all possible, I know you're tired of hearing me say this, but we have some that come on week after week without cameras. We need cameras on and we need you participating, because otherwise, how we show up here is how we show up everywhere, right? And we want to make sure that you're getting the most value possible. Okay. So, was there, before I get into the topic of the day, thank you, Anthony. Before I get into the topic of today, and don't text what that's the same as texting while you're driving. I hope you were at a light. Don't be doing that either. Is there something specific that anyone wants to mastermind around today? Having a struggle that you'd like some help with?
Maybe any tips on how to, I guess, get over the initial fear of calling the people in your circle, or like what to say. And I know that there's like the scripts and things like that, but maybe any extra like success stories or tips, or just kind of anything to get the momentum rolling.
Okay, that is a great one. And I'm going to go ahead and let that be part of what segues us into the conversation that I planned today, because we can absolutely use that as part of what we're going to talk about today. That's actually fits perfectly into this. So, has everyone heard of moving from E to P and what that means? Okay. So, moving from E to P is one of the 6 personal perspectives that Gary Keller talks about, and they all tie together, right? We started talking a couple of weeks ago with becoming with self mastery, and we did an exercise about what was it that we personally need to master, right, in order to help move our business forward. And if everyone wasn't here for that discussion, that's okay. Over time, you're going to hear these things. And then last week, we talked about the 80-20 principle. And for some of you, this was talked about in your group coaching as well, because really grasping the importance of what is our 20%, those big rocks that are going to move our business forward versus getting stuck in that 80%, right? And to your question, Tessa, that 20% is making sure that you're doing those things, right? So moving from E to P is actually becoming purposeful. So it's the E stands for entrepreneurial. And we all have that ceiling that we're comfortable doing, right? So maybe for some of you, I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. I'm using generalities of what we see within our program and nationwide when we go to things. What in general, whether they're even not just new agents, but agents in general, where the entrepreneurialness comes in, right? A lot of times in the times we live in, people are perfectly fine with texting somebody. They're perfectly fine with posting something on social media, but when they're asked to pick up the phone, they are like freeze, right? Sometimes people just aren't they're perfectly fine with telling people, oh, I'm in real estate now, but they're afraid to ask for a referral or afraid to ask for something, right? We all have those things that we can do partially. And we'll keep this in the context of the real estate business conversation, right? So we have those things we're comfortable doing, but then we get, and so we go, then we hit that ceiling and we're like, oh, I'm not so sure about that. So then we kind of come back this way, right? Because we start doing the things again that we're comfortable with, but then we realize, well, that's not really working because I'm not doing fully what I need to be doing, right? So we try and then we get here again, and then it's like, oops, right? And it's this cycle. Does this resonate with anyone? Okay. So what happens is to go from E, this whole thing here, right, to P means becoming purposeful and breaking through that ceiling. So that, in other words, we can say we get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And sometimes the worst part is just that first time that we do it. The first time we pick up the phone, the first time we hit send on a text, the first time we hit post or submit or whatever it says on a post. Sometime the first time we ask for a referral, right? But once we do it, we realize, oh, maybe that wasn't so bad, right? And we have many agents in the group, and I will ask for anyone to share here in a couple of minutes if there's some on here. And Sebastian shared a little bit earlier, that have had that thinking, right? But then they've pushed through it and they did it as uncomfortable as it was, and then found out, oh, this isn't so bad. That wasn't so hard. They were happy to hear from me. What was I worried about? Right? And so that's the type of things that we need to do. So before I go any further on this, because we do have some specific steps for you to get purposeful, okay? So whether it's that or anything else that you need to become purposeful in for your business this year. So does anyone have an experience where it was difficult to reach out, but they did it anyway and it went well?
I could go ahead and share.
Okay.
I remember the first time I tried. Well, are we just talking about picking up the phone in general for SOI or just making phone calls?
Well, it could be either, but SOI really needs to be our main focus, right? But either one.
Well, I remember the first time I texted my SOI, and I just thought that they weren't gonna respond, or they were just gonna maybe not even like read the text message and not respond or not be happy to hear from me. And while some of them I could see like in their language that they weren't, and I could feel it, I feel like it's about your mindset. And if you keep reaching out to them, they're gonna see that you truly want to have a good relationship with them. So just constantly reaching out to them every week or bi-week or every month even, it really helps them to see that you're not there to just have them like as a client. You want to have a strong relationship with them, and maybe I offer them to take them out for coffee or for food, or just tell them, oh, I haven't talked to you in a while. How have you been? What have you been up to? Just those sort of things before you even get into talking about real estate.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because really, some of you have heard this many times, but I will simplify your beginning conversation, right? We have conversation helpers in the PC toolkit, new to KW, new agent, whatever else, right? But I'm going to simplify those completely. And I'm going to give you 3 questions. And this is all you need. And this is all you need, whether it's the first time you call or the 100th time you call. Okay. And the first one is, who knows what it is?
Is it the Ford?
It's basically Ford, but I know a
Okay.
couple of you on here should know what this is. It's how are you? Right? So just simply calling the people that you know and asking them how they are. Are you ever bothered by somebody calling and asking you how you are? Generally no, right? And then what happens when you ask how they are? What do they do?
Ask it back.
Yeah, they tell you and they ask it back. So then the next question is, how's your family? Maybe you're talking to somebody that doesn't have, I mean, everybody has family, but maybe not in the context of that question, right? How's your dog? How's your cat? How's whatever, right? So it's showing interest in them as a person. They're going to give you whatever answer. They're probably going to ask you about yours. Then the kicker is, hey, how's work going for you these days? Things are kind of all over the board still, right? They're going to tell you about their job. Well, guess what? They may ask you about yours, and then they open the door for you to bring up real estate. Maybe they don't ask you about yours, but you can listen to theirs, right? And say, oh wow, that's so great, whatever response is appropriate to what they said, right? And then say, yeah, I just started a new job in real estate and I'm so excited. Or yeah, over this past year in my business, I don't know if you remember, but I sell real estate, and we've had to make a lot of changes with the market. Have you noticed the changes in the market? Did you have any questions I could answer? Right? So it can be brought up very naturally. Don't overthink it. Really, most of us overthink this way too much. Just have conversations with people, share what you do, be interested in them, come from contribution. That's all that's really needed. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments on that before we move on? Does that help you feel better, Tessa?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And don't forget, guys, Mondays, Mega Mondays, it's only one day a week now. Please get in there at 8:45. These conversations are being practiced. So get in there and practice conversations with your fellow agents. Get comfortable there, right? And then that's where practice on each other. And then I promise you, you're going to do way better than you think you will when you actually talk to the people. Happens every time. So I want to talk about the 5 steps of getting purposeful, because some of you that have been on here the last couple of weeks, you've thought of some specific things that you need to master in order to move your business forward, right? And so, and you've thought of what your big rocks are. We've talked about those last week. we're at the time of year now where we're going to be doing business planning. Okay. And our business plans for next year, we've got to put some thought into. Ideally, they should be done by now because what we do from today shows up 90 days from today, but we want to go into next year very strong. So we've been talking little bits about how we can help you put that business plan together over the last couple and in the next few weeks. So to that end, some of your market centers are having business planning clinics. Some of them may not be. You may have invitations to go elsewhere, but everyone needs to attend a business planning clinic. Okay. And 2 weeks from today, 14. Yes, 2 weeks from today. Sorry. 2 weeks from today, we will not have this PC Mastermind because I will be in person in Chino Hills teaching the business planning clinic. That is going to be from 10 to 2. There is a link in the PC calendar. So I want everyone who is able to make arrangements to Zoom into that. Those that are in the area, please come join us in person. And if you're not, then please make arrangements to be at that. We are going to be working on putting together your business plan for 2024. Okay. But let's talk about, I'm going to show you, I'm just going to pull this up on the screen here. The 5 steps to getting purposeful. Can everybody see that okay? Okay. So first of all, we need to get focused, right? So we need to know what our goals are, write them down. Okay. So, and we've started talking about that already. And then we need to focus on the big rocks, the 20%, the most important things that are going to help us get to those goals. Those are what you're going to focus on when we create our business plan in a couple of weeks. Your one of the 135 is going to be your main goal. Then what's your 20%, right? We all know lead generation in one form or another is part of our 20%. So that's going to be one of our priorities. The priorities in our business plan, which is we typically have 3, right? 1, 3, 5. That's going to be the 20%. And then how are you going to, what strategies are we going to do? So notice number 2, find strategic options. So then we're asking ourselves, how can this be done? Right? Are there different ways to do it? So what is the one thing in lead generation? What's the, somebody shout out, what is one of your focuses for this upcoming year in lead generation?
Farming. Open.
Okay, I heard farming. And what else?
Open houses.
Open houses. Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. I'm going to take this down for the purpose of this conversation. So let's talk about each of those. Okay. Now, maybe it isn't everybody's strategy. And yet open houses, I would argue, should be everybody's strategy, one of them, right? And farming we'll talk about, but we need to talk about it very specifically, because if you farm the old school way, you might not be seeing any results. Okay. So let's start with that. That's what I heard first. So Anthony, are you able to share what is your plan for farming? And what is your
Yeah,
main
so I farm my neighborhood, and I have about 230 units there, and I do a monthly drop-off flyer to every door, and then every few months I send out like a mail recipe, and I have probably half of those people's emails, so they get my monthly newsletter, and then they get a monthly neighborhood nurture as well too.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing that?
The drop-off newsletters have been about 4 months, and then the emails have been about 4 months. But I've been door knocking and kind of collecting information for the past year or so.
Okay, awesome. So you say drop off. Are you just dropping and going, or are you actually knocking on the door?
Yeah, I'm just dropping and going.
So that's great. And I would encourage you to be knocking on the door. And I know you're probably on a mission to get them done in a certain amount of time, but I would encourage, and this goes for anybody doing farming, If we just drop off and leave, chances are what we drop off is going to end up in the trash. So we need to make sure that we're connecting regularly. So I would say minimum connect with everyone quarterly, right? Knock on the door and see if they answer, right? Give it a second and just say, hey, I'm just here to drop this off. I just wanted to make sure you got it and it wasn't cluttering up your front door, right? And I'm not to say you're cluttering up anybody's front door. It's just something to say so that it's quick and you're not having to take a lot of time. So take that into consideration, because just dropping things and just mailing things, they'll end up in the trash. And then we
Okay,
end up not using our time wisely.
okay, that's good advice.
Yeah. And I don't want you wasting your time, right? I want you to be maximizing what you're doing. And so that's why I want to throw that out there. But consistency is the key here. And Anthony, you've been door knocking that for a while, for about a year, and you've been doing the other things for about 4 months. So here's something I want everybody to understand about this. That's right about the time when we don't start to see results yet, we start to think about giving up and often give up. Please don't. If that is one of your strategies, then you need to be consistent, you need to be regular, and you need to do it for a long period of time. Farming produces results. Farming does not produce quick results. And it won't produce any, and you will have wasted however many months you spent if you give up. And there's some things we can do a mastermind on a future call specific to farming, if you would like, because I have some, have we shared in this group? Have I shared the new playbook on some of the farming tools? This book, the new one that just came out. Okay, so once we get through our business plans, I will make this a note to have a mastermind around farming and ways to do it to a very high level. And Anthony, we can, if you want to reach out, and if we have time, even after this, we can touch on some more of it. Sorry, must be getting a delivery. Hope that's not too loud for any of you. But there's some ways that you can ramp that up. Did I hear you say, Anthony, you're doing it where you live?
Yeah, it's where I live.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
That was weird.
Yeah, it's where I live. So like even when I walk the neighborhood, I see like the same neighbors, same people I drop them off to, and yeah, people are starting to recognize me more.
Okay, so to make sure we get through everything, I'm going to continue on, but I'm going to put a pin in, and I want you to hold me accountable in case I forget, Anthony, if we have time at the end or on another call, because there's some things that you can do in your farm, especially since you're doing it where you live, which is one of the 2 best ways to choose a farm, to ramp up your results much quicker. Okay.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Awesome. Got some great ideas for you from the playbook that was released at Mega Camp. Okay.
Awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about open houses. So, and what a plan would be around open houses, or what strategies would you use there? Did you have, Sebastian, you mentioned them. Did you have a plan?
Well, yeah, I try to do at least 2 open houses a week. I would like to do 2 to 4 is my goal. And for each one, I'd like to circle call or door knock around them. And also, as soon as the agent lets me know that I could do the open house, I like putting on social media as soon as I can. I'm letting other agents know if they have any clients that might be interested in that specific property, inviting them, and inviting any clients that I might know that might be interested in that property as well.
Awesome. And again, we have some high level strategies for that. And let me tell you guys right now, with the way the market has been shifting, Open houses, I have heard of 3 things in the last week, and this is so unusual and unheard of, and I've been doing this 26 years. 3 different people, 2 in our own group here and 1 at my Tulare County Market Center, did an open house. Someone came in without an agent and wrote an offer on the house they were holding open. It's a thing right now because of the market we're in. So take advantage and do as many as you can. I've never seen this in 26 years. Awesome, Anthony. I shouldn't say I've never seen this. I've never seen it to this degree. I've actually held an open house, met a buyer, and wrote an offer on the house once in all those years. And it's very rare, but it is something that we're seeing, and it's because of how the market is shifting right now. So please take advantage of that. So open houses, farming, SOI is huge. SOI must be a part of your strategies and a priority in your lead gen with a 36 touch plan attached to that. Okay. And so we will have a mastermind soon, masterminding on these main things to help you in your business planning.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you think the best strategies are, in your opinion?
Well, it depends on what your priority is, right? Because when we build a business plan, and let me pull up a sample, because that might help the discussion for a few here. This is all about becoming purposeful by writing things down, right? And helping us get purposeful. So this is a sample of a newer agent's business plan. And it doesn't have a goal in here because the agent would put that in. So this is kind of like round 2. We used to give new agents a business plan that said to open 1 escrow and take 1 listing in within 90 days. Okay. So your goal would go here, whatever your goal is. It's to help X number of families. It's to make X number of dollars, right? It depends on what your personal goal is. So then like we've mentioned before, what do you need to focus on to make that happen? Typically, lead generation is going to be one of those priorities. Now, as building your own personal business plans, you can do this different ways. These are the 3 priorities of all newer agents. I'd say if you're brand new, 6 months or less, a year or less, these should be your priorities. However, maybe you want open houses to be a priority, and you're going to build out a system. That's okay. Or maybe lead generation is your priority, but you'll have 2 or 3 strategies specific to open houses, 2 or 3 specific to SOI, right? So basically, under this one, lead generation, one of the strategies is have a minimum, right, of 10 real estate conversations per day as part of my daily lead generation. So you notice how that strategy, it's simple, right? And it's worded smartly, as in SMART, the acronym: specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound, right? Generate leads by asking everyone I talk to each day, who do you know that needs to make a move this year? So it's very specific as to when you talk to people, every day you need to be asking people that question because you need to stay top of mind, right? In this case, generate new leads by using social media purposely to interact with friends and followers using the 10-10-5 system daily. That's the 10 likes, 10 comments, 5 shares. So you get an example of what strategies are, right? And when we do the business planning clinic, we're going to go through how to set yours up in more detail. Okay, so if at all possible, please attend that. So this is a sample. You'll find this specific sample in the PC Agent Toolkit in the business planning folder. Okay, is that helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. And as you guys are building your business plans out, and if you are having any trouble, please go to Ask a Coach, right? Send the coaches an email. We're here to help. So that's your time to come in and ask questions. And it doesn't have to be specific to how do I fill out a form or, right, anything you need help with. That's why we have that available to you. Okay. So please keep that in mind. Okay. So the third step in getting purposeful is finding models that you need to follow. So, and this was brand new, released at Mega Camp this year. There's so many new models in here, and this goes along with what the MREA models are, right? Again, based on interviews of what successful agents are doing, and we're going to be bringing a lot of those to you in our coaching. But so find models to follow. So that means attending trainings that teach you what you need to make your specific business plan happen, right? But as we've also cautioned you, don't go to a training just because it sounds good. Is the training that's being offered going to benefit your business? And if it's not benefiting your business now or in the very near future of what your plans are, that's not the best thing for you to use your time on currently, right? So seek out purposeful training. Okay. You can find that on Connect. KW Connect has lots of training on there, lots of videos. They do live things. Read the MREA book. Read The One Thing. Read Shift. There's so many different ways, but you have to become purposeful with that, right? So if you don't have education as a main priority, you need to have education as one of your strategies that you're working on throughout the year. Okay. Who are people that can help you to identify those and to help? Your coaches are a huge part of who can help you with that. So utilize that. Be at your group coaching each and every week because we're bringing things to you to help you build your business. Be at this mastermind every week because we're masterminding around things that are going to help you build your business. Are we always going to talk about a subject you need to know today? Maybe, maybe not. And even hearing something again, by the time you hear it again, you'll be in a different place in your business and it'll resonate differently. Right? That's why certain things we do every year, even if we've already done them, because we're in a different place. Okay. So the fourth piece to getting purposeful is having systems. Systems are important. So you need to time block and stick to it, right? You need to have your checklist. We have, for transactions, we have transaction checklists in the PC toolkit. You need to set up seller systems, buyer systems. Then you need to test the systems, right? So we need to tweak them as we go. You can use the checklists that are in the toolkit as kind of a starting ground. And then you can tweak them as you go according to what you do, right? But if you're working with a seller and you ask them the qualifying questions, you know that's the first step of your system, right? And then after that, you're sending them the pre-listing packet and you're doing the CMA and you're doing the net sheet. Whatever it is that you're doing, write it down. Make sure that every single seller you talk to, you do the exact same thing for. That's a system. Then it becomes over time just kind of a no-brainer, like riding a bike, right? And everyone gets treated the same and gets your standards of service. But if you don't have a system, everyone won't be treated the same, even if you think you're doing it the same, and your standards may be being compromised. So start that now with the very first person you talk to that wants to sell a house or buy a house for buyer systems, right? Don't wait till you've got all this business and, oh, now what do I do? Document everything you do now. What's your lead generation system, right? What's your system for SOI? Do you have your 36 touch plan thought out and in place and active? What's your system for open houses? What day do you have them set by? When do you start your marketing? When do you start your social media, your calls, your door knocking? How many signs do you use for each one? How early are you there? When do you follow up afterwards? Right? So there are systems for everything. And please don't be overwhelmed by all these systems I'm mentioning, right? Make a list of ones you want to do. And maybe that's part of your business plan this year, is working on your systems. And maybe every month you create a system and you master it, right? And then as you start getting business and start doing the system, you'll find places you can tweak it. Just because we have it in place doesn't mean we'll never change it, right? Anybody that's been in this program for over 6 months has seen changes. We're never going to not make changes because we're always going to be doing things to improve. Okay. So then accountability. The way to be purposeful is really to have accountability. You guys in the coaching program have accountability. Having a coach is integral to that, right? Now, if you're not showing up to things and you're not going to group coaching and you're not turning in your numbers and you're not doing all those things, you're not holding yourselves accountable. We can't help you if you're not doing that. We can only help you if you're doing that, right? Part of accountability also is just measuring what you're doing. What are your results from your activities? So if you're focusing on farming, you're focusing on open houses, whatever you're focusing on, where's your business coming from? So every time you get a piece of business, how did I get that? Where did it come from? You got to know your numbers using our 411s. I know anybody in Lori's small groups, you know what's going on there. She keeps you accountable to those. So that's the 411 is taking the business plan and breaking it down into months and weeks to make sure you're holding yourself accountable to your business plan. So while we don't have time today to go into all of that, and we will be going into all of that in the business planning clinic, but that's the general overview of going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And can you see how entrepreneurial is? Maybe you know some of what you need to do. Maybe you don't know all of what you need to do, but you don't really have anything in place to do it. But you become purposeful by writing it down, creating systems, doing it, right? Getting uncomfortable, then getting comfortable, and then getting uncomfortable again and continuing to grow. And then staying accountable to everything that you're putting in place. Does that all make sense? Sebastian, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, well, for me, I haven't had my first listing yet, but just learning the system of how to follow a listing and how to go about it has really helped me to be confident so when I do have a listing, I know what to do. So really prioritizing education and learning the systems really does help you in your business.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we do go through those systems in the video training series, right? And then we're going to enhance that in your coaching and in these masterminds. It's not just watch videos and do this, right? It's all made to work together and to enhance your learning. And some people learn better with videos, some people hate them. However we learn, it all works together, right? Okay. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Is your hand up again, Sebastian? Or did you just not take it out? Okay.
I have a question. It's like maybe a little bit unrelated, but how do you go about getting the open houses or offering to go to them, or how does that work?
So you just have to reach out to the agents in your market center. And the best way to do that is find listings from the MLS for your office and then reach out to the agents. And I will tell you the best way to do that is by text, not by email and not by phone, because they won't answer the phone when they're busy and they'll skip over emails. I know this because everybody skips over emails, even important ones I send. Please don't do that. I know it's human nature, but we've got to be cognizant of that, right? Because we may think an email is not important, but don't skip over your client emails. But unfortunately, agents that get busy, they tend to do that. So texting is the best way. And texting is just so easy for them to respond. Also, don't be discouraged if they don't respond, because not all agents do. Be a squeaky wheel. Michelle?
Hey there. Thank you for taking my question. I'm also on vacation right now, so I apologize for any background
That's
noise.
right.
But I just feel like the conversation's very quiet. And it also goes around like, okay, sphere of influence and getting in touch with people. And you've obviously been doing it for a very long time and very successful at what you're doing to be a coach. I just question for myself, and I'm sure that there's got to be those that relate to it, that real estate can be so salesy, which I love the 3 questions that you put out there to start conversations in that way. But my guess is that in the back of most people's mind is it just feels so salesy and they don't want to be known that way to their sphere of influence. And I fully believe it's mindset and coming from a place of contribution. And I would love more tips, more advice, more of that type of a conversation, just to, that I feel like for myself, even when we had the PC mastermind around goals, like, my life's going to be totally fine today as it's going to be in a year, whether I do real estate or not. And it's, so that's where my struggle would really lie, is that I don't depend on it. I don't have to do it. I enjoy it. I want to come from a place of contribution, but I feel like a lot of the conversations have to do with, checking off the markers and making sure you met that goal, and just very salesy like. And so how would you speak to someone like me coming from a different place?
Okay, great question, Michelle. And here's the thing, and I always like to, when I hear things, and over time you'll hear me call certain things out, because we are real estate sales persons. That's what the license says, right? I will never coach to being that salesy person. Okay. Now, sometimes it may be interpreted that way, and that's not the intent, and everybody's going to interpret things differently. But here's one thing I want to make crystal clear. Real estate agents are everybody's different. You're going to have your people out there that are going to be pound, 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 and dialers and 500, dials per hour, whatever. That's a little exaggerated, right? That's, to me, that is not the best approach to things, right? Now, there's people it works for, and if it does, great. And I am not knocking what works for any one person. But the truth of the matter is, we are in a business of relationships. So we need to build those relationships, right? And that's why I simplify all of the scripts down to, how are you? How's your family? How's work going, right? The truth is, Michelle, if we want to have any success in this business, we've got to talk about real estate. We have to ask for referrals. We have to do those things, or we will not have business. That is a fact. Okay. However, how we go about doing that should not come across salesy. Who absolutely loves to go furniture shopping or car shopping? Yeah, I didn't think anybody was going to raise their hand. And if
I like shopping for furniture myself, not cars.
who likes being bombarded by the salespeople when you go furniture shopping? Okay.
No.
I hate those two things for that reason. But here's how I overcome that. I walk into a furniture store. I know they're going to come up to me, and I don't want to be bothered, right? So I simply say, hi, nice to meet you. Great. My name's Jodi. You know what? Can I have your card? And if I have any questions, I promise to come back to you. And let me go. Don't follow me, right? Same thing on a car lot. And it's because we should never come across like that. You will come across agents all the time that come across like that. If that's your personality, I'm not telling you don't do that, okay? However, we are in a business of relationships and building relationships. So, Michelle, when it comes to, you talking about your sphere and you don't want to come across salesy, and I've said this multiple times, if you haven't talked to somebody in a year or 5 or 10, and you're reaching out to them to tell them you're in real estate, yes, we want you reaching out to your sphere. Yes, we want you doing that. Don't talk about real estate the first time. Don't. And I'm giving you permission not to. It's about building relationships. But then I'm also going to ask you, how are you going to feel when your mother's sister, your aunt or your uncle or your cousin sold or bought a house with somebody else because you were afraid to tell them what you were doing, right? And how are you going to feel when that aunt or uncle or cousin had a wretched experience because they got one of those pound the dialer agents that doesn't care, they just want the business, and they had a horrible experience? How are you going to feel? Right? So it comes down to, we really do want to help the people that we know and love, and that's our sphere. And so don't let your sphere get stuck having to use somebody that happened to call them in the moment because they didn't know you're doing real estate. Right? So reaching out to them quarterly, having the neighborhood nurturers go out. By the way, the neighborhood nurturers don't bother anybody. Everybody likes to know what's going on in their neighborhood. That's not salesy. That's providing value and providing information, right? You're not even asking them for anything by sending those out. Okay. I've put a quarterly text in the Smart Plan library that you can download into your own smart plans. The first touch is a genuine touch. How are you? The second touch has an ask. The next one doesn't have an ask. It's just a how are you? And the fourth one has an ask, right? Just like, who do you know that I might be able to help, kind of a thing. Because if we're asking every time we talk to the same person, that's where we're salesy, right? Build relationships. That's what this business is about. So please don't listen to the people that are telling you certain things, right? And at the same hand, I'm also telling you, if you don't do it ever, and if you don't make the asks and you don't make the offers, you won't have business. So there is finding that middle ground.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I full-heartedly agree. My own personal example has been being licensed for a very long time and always being on the fence with real estate. And 2 months ago, decided I'm just either going to cancel altogether or go all in. And the minute I decided to go all in and reach out to people within my church group that I actually am a realtor, they were shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, why didn't you say it? And very, very warm, receptive. As I watched prior months of being on the fence, sales happening and not being the person to be asked. And I thought, it's obvious, like I just realized I can't be on the fence with doing it. It's either I'm all in or I'm not doing it at all. So wholeheartedly agree. And I know one of the things that stops me is just feeling salesy. And I've always had a fine line between church and real estate. And so yeah, I feel like I'm finding my place with it. So thank you for that.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And I see your hand,
Yeah.
Sebastian. I want to add one thing to Michelle's comment quickly. I agree with what you just said. And I, as a coach, I'm going to go on record as saying I have a segment of people from my sphere that I do not put on those types of plans. And it is my congregation, because that, to me, that's an issue for me. It's not an issue for everybody. And if it's not an issue for you, that's fine. Okay. However, everyone knows I'm in real estate. I have most of those people on social media, right? So I'm doing Fur Baby Friday posts, and I'm doing, so they still know without being salesy. So I'm not crossing a line that's uncomfortable for me to cross in that regard. And yet still know, because those are the people I genuinely want to help everybody, right? But the people I'm closest to, I definitely don't want them getting a hold of an agent that's not going to take care of them. So even if you have segments of your sphere that are a little uncomfortable, and yes, we're talking about get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and we do need to, because if we're honest with ourselves, most of the time we are fine to do it and we're making excuses not to, right? But find a way around, a different way to do it that's comfortable. Sebastian?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that even though our title is as a salesperson, I find myself now I find myself really comfortable talking to my SOI, and sometimes that'll be like my aunt or my cousin, and I'll just text them like, "Oh, I hope you have a great day today." And then so I just feel my relationship's getting better with them, and I feel like that's thanks to real estate. And because of real estate, the relationships are getting better, not worse.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's so true because it's about building relationships, right? So, and we're not salespeople in the terms of salespeople, right? We're actually, if you think about it, we're more educators, we're consultants, right? You're even coaches to your own clients because we're helping them get the facts, not be deterred and afraid by the headlines, and helping them make the biggest financial decisions of their lives when they do real estate transactions. We should never be salesy in that regard because we cannot, nor should we try to make somebody buy or sell a house that truly does not want to, and it's not in their best interest. But we have to have the conversations to find those people that do need to do those transactions so we can be the ones to help them. So just to be clear, when you're hearing that, yes, we got to do all this 10 conversations a day, yada, 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 right? That's because we have to have the conversations to find those people. Never to force or try to force somebody to do something they shouldn't be doing. So I hope that's coming across loud and clear, and maybe clarifying or clearing up some things. Awesome. I love that you brought that up. Okay, we got 5 minutes left. Any last questions, thoughts, comments before we go?
I have a quick question. As far as meeting recordings and things like that, is there any way that we can find out which meetings are recorded and which meetings are not recorded?
So we record the weekly workshop and the PC Mastermind. We do not record group coachings. That is part of your accountability. You are expected to be there. You're expected to be here as well. That's also why we moved this to the lunch hour for those of you that have other jobs. And the recordings for this and the workshop, you're not always going to go to because it's not always on a topic, and you'll always have that topic, right? That applies to you. So pick and choose that one. But we're always going to have, whether the topic directly applies to you here, we're always going to have coaching tidbits that are going to touch on your business. Okay. This is recorded for those who truly can't adjust their schedule to come. And I guarantee you that's not true based on the number of people here, right? So congratulations to you guys for being here and all in your business. This is recorded for those that truly can't get here, because it's much better live when you can interact and ask the questions.
For sure.
But those are the only 2 things we record.
Okay, perfect. And then how do you get to the recorded ones? Do they get emailed to you?
They're always posted in WhatsApp and posted on our Facebook page. So it's on our YouTube page, which you can subscribe to as well. And then you'll get the notifications.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Rick. Look like you're feeling better. I just found out yesterday you had not been feeling well.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Thanks.
Good. All right.
I just came from a listing where I got 6% to list the home.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's the way it's done. Good job. All right. Well, unless there's anything else, have a great rest of your day. I will see you all back here next week. And don't forget, Ask a Coach is there if you have questions, okay? Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jodi.
Bye.
Hi, Joe.